Hello, guys. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today, I have another absolute banger of a story for you guys. Today's video is about the time me and my friends snuck into the school resource officer's room and did lines on his table. If you don't know what a resource officer is, it's basically just a police officer on duty in the school. So this story takes place over nearly an entire week. At this point in the coke fiendery, me and my friends were doing blow any day we could get it. Not a day went by that me and at least one of my friends were not getting geeked up off of anything necessarily, but usually it would be the blow. Along with this raging coke addiction, we were always up to some devious, call it even rambunctious activities per se. We were always trying to find the next dumbest thing to do in class or, just to do in the school. Whatever it was, we certainly were not going to do the work we did in class, or the work we got in class. So this all starts with the smoke session we were having on the Saturday before this event had happened. We were 5 people deep in this sesh. We had a guy, we'll call him Tim. We had another guy, we'll call him Cody. And then we had Eric and John. Eric and John you heard about in the last video, but Tim and Cody were also regular guys in this friend group. Oftentimes we would throw in hella money and buy hella coke and za or whatever we were trying to get geeked up on at the time. So we were 5 deep, passing the blunts around as per usual, along with a square mirror we had on a desk in the center of this circle of couches and chairs we were sitting in Cody's garage. I think it was. I think it's just Cody's garage. And on that mirror, we had some lines chopped. We had a bag already. We had a bag of blow. So we were talking as one usually would at a session of this caliber. And we ended up talking about doing lines in school, particularly about where we were going to do this next bag that that we were going to buy. Now, of course, we had a couple of options, and most of these options were pretty fire. So each of us had one banger idea picked out. My idea wasn't the greatest, so I'm not even going to throw it in there. I'm not even going to throw it in this video, but I will throw in some of the lesser good ideas that some of the other guys threw in. So in each class, there was a few rows of windows that showed into the rooms. So Tim had suggested that when everyone was at lunch, even the teachers would usually not be in their rooms during lunch. So Tim suggested that when everyone's at lunch, we would pre-chop some blow in this bag, as we would oftentimes do. We would just pre-chop it and then dump lines. And just dump these lines onto the metal sills of the windows and do them right next to the door. A lot of it, a lot of us in this friend group, we were sitting and we were like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? This shit sounds ass. Anyway, I don't know how we didn't take into account that the cameras could see us do this. So Tim's idea was just out. But we thought we'd put it on the back burner. For what reason? I don't know. Eric's idea was to chop lines on the school Chromebook, which might be surprising that we hadn't already done that. But that was just a little too boring to us at the time, at this session. We didn't find that very interesting. Now, here are where the real banger ideas start. The next ideas were nuts. So Cody's idea was to pre-chop the whole bag, like we again sometimes did. And each of us would quickly pour a decent line on our desks in class, like while the lecture is going on, and rail them, like as quickly as possible without the teacher or like anyone else who might snitch, like, no. Now, this was a dangerously risky idea. This is the kind of idea we were looking for. Something that's just completely off the rails. However, there was one person left to share their idea, and this was John. John had the idea. John came up with the idea to chop and rail lines in the resource officer's room, like the police officer, like in the school. Uh, so he also throws in that we might be able to face a quickly rolled blunt if we get in there. Wait, where am I at? If we can stay in there for a longer time. Sorry, I'm can't read right now. As soon as we heard this idea, it was on site. We knew immediately that this was it. This is what we were doing. However, Tim was not interested. He was simply not going to take that risk of being caught and sent possibly to jail. We of course knew we were going to have a plan. We of course knew we were going to have a plan. Have to plan this whole thing out, and fairly thoroughly too, right? We can't just we just can't just run in there and go and do that. So the next day, on Monday, after this session, after we all went home, throughout the day on this Monday, the school day, off and on we watched the officer to try and figure out when we could carry out this plan. We didn't find too much because we were particularly busy that day. However, the next day there wasn't shit going on. So we basically skipped about 40% of like all our class time on this Tuesday. We were able to find out on this Tuesday and the next day on Wednesday that we were able to find a pattern that he takes this officer particularly takes a fairly long break starting around the middle of lunch into about the first 10 minutes of the next class, like after lunch. So we were set. This was our chance to do this legendary activity. So we decided to wait until Friday this week just to be sure we could go 100% go through with this. Waiting another day just to like scope out and make sure this is actually something he does every day. So on this Friday, we go to school. We get there. We have the bags and we have our za, right? We have our weed. So we are set. Going through the first half of the school day, me and all the other guys were incredibly nervous to go and do this when lunch came around. So when lunch comes around, we wait a little bit. We eat our lunch. This school very fortunate. We had a 45-minute lunch period. This was crazy. So when lunch comes around, we wait. We eat a little bit, and we get there a little bit after the officer leaves his room, right? We don't want to walk over there. We don't want to be walking to his room as he's walking out of the room, right? That would be very dangerous. So once we're ready, we got up from our lunch table and made our way to the officer's room. Once we get there, we start going insane. We are lit, and we haven't even done any of this blow yet. So we changed that. We busted out these bags and started chopping up, and we got some beautiful lines in no time. We also bust out the za and the wraps, which we rolled up pretty quick. We also rolled our dollar bills up and got to railing these lines right off the desk, might I say. We didn't have like a plate or like a flat like we didn't have a piece of paper. We just did it off the table. While me and John are doing these lines, Cody and Eric are sparking this blunt up and tapping it, right? Once we're all coked up, Then they passed the blunt to us, and they started doing their lines. Not more than 10 minutes go by, and this poor officer's police room, this poor police officer's room is hotboxed, and his desk has residue from the blow all over it. It's so obvious what we were doing in there. And at this point, we were completely set. I mean, we are fried, baked even. We are done. No learning is being done in the next class, for sure. Sooner than later, we hear the lunch bell ring, and this means we gotta get our asses out of this room. So we dip out of this room and close the door to keep the hot box going in there. And of course, we leave the residue on the desk as well. Like, there's literally no way that as soon as the officer walked in this room, he didn't know we were up to some shenanigans. After we got out, I was already on my way to class. I was jogging my way there because I didn't know whether we were going to be seen in this area and if we were going to get caught or whatnot. If we didn't get out of there damn quick. So I get back to my class, and this coke really hits me. I'm straight geeking in this classroom, learning about some absolutely dumb shit. I think I was in math class. I don't know why math class was right after lunch. This shit was ass. Think we learned about some slope intercept. Shit was crazy. Anyway, we got through this school day, and we all met back up at Cody's spot, which was where we were at before on the Sunday. And Cody's place is usually where we went to sesh because he had this this fire garage setup. He had a big circle of couches, like a half circle, with a table in the middle. And he had like two big ass TVs, so we didn't have to split screen. And that was just a fire. That was a fire setup. I love that. So Tim shows up as well to ask if we really did go through with this plan. And we get to talking. And Tim is kind of pissed that he pussied it out. But anyway, we start smoking it up and playing games in Cody's garage until real late. And that's just how the rest of the weekend went. But anyway, the next school day after this weekend, which was Monday, obviously, the entire school sat through a meeting about what we did. But what most of the school did not know is that we did this. We did this activity. This happened. Anyway, this is an absolute classic story, and I always love telling this story to anyone who's interested. And this is just a banger ass story. So if you liked this video or if you found it relatable, please smack the shit out of that like button and hit the subscribe button as well. And also don't forget to comment because it throws my video way good into the algorithm. So anyway, if you like this kind of content, I would really appreciate it if you hit all the buttons for me. That would be fire. Thank you for any support you give, and I will see you in the next one.